we're here. I'm very excited for this plus one. This is our first plus one that we've done outside of the video game voiceover world, and it should be good. So we're gonna switch the gears here, and here we go. All right. Hello, Julie. How are you? Guys, we have Julie Nguyen on right now. This is a very exciting plus one. I'm stoked about it. I met Julie actually because of Han, which some of you guys know. And Julie, I guess you're like you're my spiritual healer, right? Can I say like you're my spiritual? Yeah, she's my spiritual healer. And we've only had a couple sessions, but we will have more. And yeah, so I'm excited for you guys to learn a little bit more about what Julie does. And yeah, this is you're the first person, Julie, that I've had on here that is not in the video game or voiceover world. So I'm excited to just open that up to just kind of a new journey here with this interview, starting with you.
Yay!
Could you tell us about yourself, a little bit about just kind of an intro of who you are, what you do, all encompassing?
Yes. So I'm a teacher and I'm a healer. And I think ultimately I am dropping deeper into what my life calling is. And that is just to hold space for others to tap into their own light and power. I started my career as a dancer. And then for 20 plus years, I owned my own dance studio. And then it was just this soul nudge to really expand into like a deeper version of myself, and like just in a more expansive way. And so my company is called Spiritual Shit Show because I have to keep it real when it comes to moving through your own stuff in an effort to really deepen your connection to your own light and yourself and your purpose, and to really feel good in your body and to not feel anxious or depressed, because I definitely dealt with those pretty heavily as well. And all of those experiences of like deep depression and anxiety was really just this uncovering of stuff that at one point in my life was purposeful, but now like I got to upgrade. So I left my business, and then I've just been on this deep spiritual journey. And really, I was doing this work while I was in my business, but it just really wasn't supported. So I feel like I had to come out of that business to really drop into what I really want to do more authentically. I still dance. I love dance and movement. Dance and movement has been such a beautiful healing modality. And it's also like my way to create. I love choreographing. And yeah, so I'm many things, but I think I'm a teacher, I'm a dancer, I'm a mover, and I also am a healer. And then I also do, I don't really like to use the word psychic work, but it kind of falls under the umbrella of that's what people understand. So, psychic and sometimes medium, I can be a medium. I don't really do that quite often, because my main intention is just to open up space for people to breathe and to feel like that little nudge that you have inside of your heart, and you kind of know, but you're too afraid of it, or it doesn't feel possible. I like to open up space for people to drop into their own possibility and love.
Yeah, no, I love that. And for those of you who are listening or watching right now, that's truly what she's done for me. The times that I've met with her, it's just brought so much clarity and just like just vision for myself and my future, and it's been really, really authentic and really cool. So we had a lot of questions about healing, being a healer, being a spiritual healer, so we'll jump into those questions. So could you talk a bit about exactly what Reiki is and how it works? And then a follow-up question was, how do you perceive the energies of people when you're working with them?
Can I start there?
Yes.
Okay. So the same way that I said, like, I don't really like to use the word psychic. It's the same way as I use Reiki as an umbrella, or this is what kind of becoming Reiki certified and becoming a Reiki master is what really was the umbrella that opened me up to being able to drop into how I approach healing work and the way I do it. Reiki, I know I was going to say it backwards, but I'm going back with the first question. Reiki is just it's a Japanese form of healing through energy work, and you go through the whole process. There's different, Reiki level 1, 2, 3, 4, and then your master, and you can use these symbols to help guide or bring in healing energy. Um, for me, going through it, the process is when things began to open up. So you have to go through certain attunements, so you attune to the energy. um, so that's kind of what Reiki is, but it also comes through many different forms. So um, it's like if you get hurt, your immediate response is to put your hand on it, right?
Mhm.
So it is healing energy, or how to calm the body, or how to really self heal and allow the body to self rejuvenate, and also how to just kind of there's another modality called polarity therapy, and it's just working with the energies of the body. So if I have a headache, if I move the energy down to my feet, then it'll alleviate the energy that's building up here and allow it. It's like a battery. So
Mhm.
you're working positive, both sides, and then finding this neutral space. So there's different ways of approaching energetic healing work. But I did start with Reiki. Does that answer part one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I think everybody has their own superpowers. So, like I have a circle of friends, and we've all started in Reiki. And each one of them, like one is really deep into like wisdom, ancient wisdom. One has really turned her eye towards more becoming a medical medium. Another friend is an artist, so when she's doing healing work, she'll draw at the same time what she's seeing, these beautiful pictures. Yeah. So I'm offering that because if anybody decides to do it, you have to. It's like becoming what it is for you, and you stepping into your healing powers and how you can hold space not only for yourself but for other people too. Um, and then
What would you say your healing power is?
I think I love big, and so when I drop into to space with other people, it's like I can talk to, it's like spirit. It's like, I don't necessarily have a certain set of guides. Sometimes you hear people say my guide said, or I work with these guides. I think I just open up to more of a space of love, and then I hear the messages for that person. And so I love it because it just feels so hopeful and purposeful and loving, and the space just feels so held for that person. It's really insightful because the guides or spirits or whatever, the energy that comes through in messages and in channeling work, they're never concerned about they're always like, yeah, 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 but find joy, or what do you love, or what is the essence. They always bring the person back to the essence of who they are, and I think that is really powerful and helpful for me too, because sometimes in just my day-to-day normal human being life, I definitely question, like, should I be doing this, or should I be doing this, or should I be doing this, and that becomes stressful, and it allows me to just sit back into what are my gifts and how do I want to live my life. And, there's a lot of things that I feel like I should do, and I actually don't want to do them. So I'm not, because I'm going to stay in my lane and allow, my gifts to be enough.
That I love that. Um, so you kind of talked a little bit about your journey with dancing, and then kind of diving into your journey of being a healer. But when did you first realize that you were spiritually tapped in? And yeah, could you talk a little bit about that transition?
Mm-hmm. So I've always been an intuitive, and creatively it came through as a dancer. So I had a very successful studio, and I was on the cover of like the magazines and stuff like that. But it was peculiar to me because I was never formally trained. Like when I was teaching, I didn't know like all the terminology all the time, but I could know, like I could see. And so when I was choreographing, I would literally have to be in the middle of the dance, and then I would know what we're going to do. So I never prepared for choreography. I never prepared for class. I just was able to drop into the space intuitively and move from there. And so I think my intuitive gifts have always been there. They've just kind of shape shifted. Um, and then and I've always been curious about energy work. So I've always seen psychics and mediums, and every fall was my gig. Like every fall there was a place called, it's not around anymore, but it was at, I think it was called the Star House or 12th House or something like that. And it was just like a house with a bunch of psychics and stuff.
Mhm.
And so every fall, that's where I would go to kind of set me up. I love astrology. I just have always had like a really deep thirst for, this other world. Um, and so in my 30s, then I decided to get Reiki certified because I had a detached retina. Do you know what that is?
Oh, yeah, does not sound fun.
No, and I was super young, and so it was really kind of random. And I didn't want to go back for another surgery because the other surgery would have been more invasive. And so I sought out Reiki to help heal. Sorry, to help heal. And then my first attunement in Reiki, I saw uh, this huge angel, and it was like super huge, but it was also in the room, even though it was bigger than the room. It was really bizarre. And I was like, wow, that was weird. And then I went through like a week of being I'm really segueing away from the
That's okay.
conversation.
No, this is great. We love this.
And then I spent a week being super angry, like rageful. And I was like, what the heck? Like, how did I just have like this beautiful experience? And now I'm like so rageful and angry, like this anger that I've never had before. So I was really kind of taken aback by that. But what that was this purging. So since I was opening to more light, all of this stuff
Wow.
inside needed to come out to make room for light. So that's what the anger and this rage was.
Yeah.
It was just like all of this stuff that I've been holding for a really long time, making its way through.
Yeah.
And then as part of the course, the Reiki course, you have to have clients and to practice. So then as I was practicing on people, I would see colors, and then I would hear like a whisper in my ear and of a name. And so I was like, and I think it's an angel. So then I started to the bookstore and I got an angel book, and then I would look at what I thought I hear and I'd find it. That's what I heard. And then I'd look at the color that angel represents. And I was like, that was definitely it.
Wow.
So then I started opening to more of an angelic realm. And then I began just bringing that work into the studio, which I loved, like being able to talk younger, like they're in high school, like allowing them to breathe, teaching them breath work, or to be able to move through their chakra system, which is just like these energetic pathway that we have, and each one of them kind of represents certain things, whether it's like groundedness or your ability to speak or to see, like all the things. So to be able to have them like physically move through it was really beautiful, and I loved being able to do that. And honestly, I wanted to do it more. The world that I was in and the dance world was very competitive, so it was really sliding towards more ego, like I was just working to win competitions, and I was working to just produce really talented and amazing dancers, but there was no meaning and purpose for it. So I segued out of that space, which was actually quite jarring. It was really devastating, actually, because my whole life and identity was wrapped up in this, that I was an entrepreneur, I was a business owner, I was a teacher, I was a choreographer. And then when I jumped out of that, out of a soul necessity, it was very jarring, and I didn't have any of that anymore. Like I walked around, like when people would be like, what do you do? I'd be like, but I continued this search, and then the healing work that I was doing became started to expand as well. So now it wasn't just angels that I was feeling, but now it was like these galactic beings, and then there
Yeah.
was like mediums, like I'd be sitting with somebody and I would just get this flush of heat over me. I was like, your grandfather's here? And a friend would be like, what? I was like, does he look like this? And she was like, yeah. I was like, well, he's here. So it was this like unearthing, I guess, of these really beautiful spiritual abilities and psychic abilities. And also at the same time, it was quite jarring. And now here we are.
It's interesting because you didn't already have like you didn't already get these heat, waves over you and feel people's spirits, energies, and things in the world. So do you think that shift happened because you opened yourself up to the attunement, because you opened yourself up and said, hey, I want to be a vessel?
1,000%.
Interesting. That's so cool. That's just so interesting. I could imagine that just being incredibly jarring and having to assess that, because does that happen pretty often where you're just in a space, or is it kind of comes and goes? Like just randomly you're at a coffee shop and you just feel something.
Okay, so I've learned to turn it on and off like a light switch.
Cool.
However, yeah, because it's not like I don't want to walk around reading people,
Yeah.
and I also don't like people doing that to me either, because I'm like, nobody asked you, so I try to be very mindful. And also, I'm human. So I also am going through my own human shifts and, awarenesses, and, I like to play and have fun. So
Yeah.
I don't want the spiritual aspect of myself to like be a certain way, like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you think spirituality, it has to be like a crystal on the forehead and very quiet and very peaceful all the time. And I think that's a total facade, because I think we're humans here. We're here for the human experience, and being human is very messy. But I think the gifts that I offer is to be able to hold support, so the human experience doesn't feel so like unmanageable at times, when it does feel like really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
That to have somebody, or to have a light come in and be like, but you're doing so good, and like, go out and play more and do that first. Like, that spirit's always like, okay, step one, do this, then
Mm-hmm.
step two, and then come back, and then we'll reevaluate and ask answer the first question, but first do this. So yeah,
So
I think it's
you talked a little bit about like facade, and somebody actually had a question about this. So this is a nice little segue to that. So there are many people out there that practice Reiki. How can you tell if one is authentic in their practices? We're all searching out here for things, but sometimes, yeah.
I think the biggest thing in everything is using your own discernment. So trusting it. So if it resonates with you and you're like, yes, and you can feel it, then that's the healer for you. Um, because you're going to always be, it's like, you're always going to be like this, and aligning with things exactly what you need. So maybe this healer over here is going to offer you what you need at this point in time.
Mm.
And then maybe it doesn't resonate with you anymore. And so and then somebody else comes in. So I feel like you're always being fed these small little nuggets in life of exactly what you need. And I'll say, as a healer, for myself too, I have to remember that too. That, like, that if I offer a session with somebody, it's just for that very simple moment, and I'm not here to sell healing, or to constantly send emails and have, it's like, I want to be able to heal in a space where it's like, if it's needed, I am here.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you got it.
I
Like,
love
you
that.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think discernment in everything. And because I think people can get lost in seeking and searching so much outside of yourself. I think the goal to these healing modalities or seeking is ultimately to bring you back into yourself, to your own self, to your own creative visions, and self-love and self-worth, and asking yourself these really beautiful questions of, what is it that I want to create in the world, or how do I want to feel, how do I want to be? And so those types of answers you really can't get from anybody outside of yourself. Those are all things that you just have to have somebody help you open up space, so you can find it within.
Yeah. I love that. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of jumping on like a broader spectrum, another double parter here. What is your philosophy when it comes to spirituality, and how do you view the nature of the universe? You can pick whatever you want from that and go.
I'll say uh, there's a beautiful nudge that I believe everybody has inside. And it is this deepening into love and this age-old question of who am I and why am I here? And in the work, um, I feel like the biggest thing for that people can do is to really show up in their most brightest, loving, authentic, and also just like free self. So for me, spirituality is whatever it means for you. I think all roads lead to the heart. All roads should lead back to yourself. And I have dabbled in so many different things. Um, because I think that life is a buffet and it would be so boring just to sit down and have, a
Yeah.
hamburger every day. Like you get to experience and learn from this beautiful, diverse, and sometimes messy, but at the end of the day, so beautiful life. And I think it's really allowing yourself to give yourself permission to be open to allowing life to really course through you. And what does that feel like? And to me, it's so going back to the question of like, how did I transition? I think these things are scary. Like to say, I really want to, like the other day I was in meditation. I was like, yes, I'm really opening up myself to be a teacher and a healer, period. No other things. Like, I just want to be a teacher and a healer. And I could feel like this jarring sensation inside, like, okay, because are you ready? Because we're going to bring it to you. So I think it's this art of allowing abundance and love. And then also allowing these things to be birthed from you as well, your own light and your passions and your powers. So that's my view of the universe. I think it's a beautiful, supportive buffet of joy and love. And when we can't reach that, then it will come around and rumble it out of you. And sometimes the rumble is quite uncomfortable and longer than we want. But that's why I say, welcome to the shit show. As soon as you start jumping down the healing journey, it's not. I think we have a thirst for enlightenment because enlightenment feels safe.
Mm-hmm.
Your question is, do you have the courage actually to sit in the fire? And I think that's where the beauty actually happens.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just looked over at the chat for a second. I saw this awesome comment that says, I like this departure for +1. This is very needed. There's so much more than games. Because again, this is the first time I've done one that isn't involving games or voiceover or devs or anything. And so, yeah, they're really enjoying this so far. So,
Okay, so can I say this? So in August, I was in California and I was working with a filmmaker. He's a filmmaker, choreographer, artist. And so it was the first time that I was on a creative team, but doing spiritual work. And so I was just kind of holding space for them for like a deeper, like
oh, that's so
creative.
cool. Yeah.
I know, it was amazing. And then I get to go work with the dancers afterwards and help open up space for them to really like embody themselves, because I think dance is people love dance. Han asked me the other day, he was like, why do you think people love dance? I was like, have you been to a wedding or a party? Like, if it's nobody's dancing, it's quite boring. Like, dancing is fun. It's
Yeah.
so fun. But if you put people, for like get up and dance, we're gonna dance. Everybody's first initiation is like they're hesitant and they don't want to. It's because you dance is so vulnerable. You
Mm-hmm.
actually see that person through their movement. You cannot hide when you're dancing.
Yeah.
Um, oh shoot! Now what was my point? Oh, so anyway, so I got to work with these professional dancers and to be able to see actually where they were hiding, parts of themselves, which is really powerful. But ultimately, the whole point I'm saying this is because this energy is really calling for us to really step into our creative powers, whether that's like voiceover work or acting or creating art. It's like we've gotten so far away from creating authentically that it was super fun to be able to open up a space for an abundance of creative information and possibilities to jump in.
Oh,
And so for whoever's here, I hope that you can tap into this, like to really be able to ask yourself, what is it? Like, if I could create anything, what would that be? And it could be as large and also as like simple, has so much power as well too. Like quiet is just as powerful as a loud roar.
I love that. Talking about tapping in, Somebody asked, what advice would you have for anyone who might have trouble tapping in, but would want to become more attuned to energy?
Ooh. I think number one is knowing that you have it inside of you. That you know, everybody. It's like you have a brain. Everybody is born with these beautiful abilities. It's just not open enough or safe enough sometimes growing up because you can be labeled as like crazy or cuckoo or woo woo or that kind of stuff. So I think people shut it down, and that's also in my 30s when I started doing this. That's why I shut it down because I was also getting labeled as like she's crazy or she's lost her mind. So, but it wasn't that at all. So I think starting there, journaling
Mm.
really helped me a lot, and not like dear diary today I it's just learning how to just write and write and write. So there's a beautiful book called The Artist's Way. And so I love that book because she does morning pages. And
Mhm.
so just in the morning, first thing before you even start thinking, just write. And then that's it. And so once you kind of start, that's a beautiful way to start unlocking your own inner voice and you're in opening into trusting your intuition. So I would say that's a beautiful way. Also, receiving energy work is great. Sometimes if on my end, I'm like, because I want it to be so profound and helpful, I also have to remember that even if it's not for them, it's still opening up space. And so in my journey over the 20 years of doing this, that's what, like, every instance just kind of opened me up and opened me up and opened me up more. Um, and then simple things, having a gratitude practice, getting outside in nature, practicing doing nothing. And how does that feel for you? Of just being and not doing. You know, and ultimately, again, just sitting with what is it, you being able to find your own voice in all of this too. What feels good for me right now? And last thing I would say is a bookstore, going to a bookstore and going to like the metaphysical or the new age and just
Mm.
seeing what is drawn to you and
Ooh,
start there. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Just pick out something that seems like it calls to you. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, other than Reiki, and you talked about this a little bit in the beginning of how you've dived and dealt with some other spiritual tools, but what has been your favorite? I would guess Reiki, but what are other tools that you have used that you find um, beneficial to your practice?
When I'm working with other people.
Yes, yes.
Mhm. I love just doing channeled messages right now. And I think it's because Reiki, if I'm dropping into just doing Reiki work, so Reiki is more of a hands-on healing.
Hmm.
It can be done distance. Okay, so but if you were here and I was just going to do a straight up Reiki session on you, I clear the space, you set your intention, and then I just put my hands on different parts of the body for you.
Mm,
That is a regular traditional Reiki session.
hmm.
Um, for me, I don't, it's not my jam because it's too much energy and I also sometimes get sick from it because of just moving and being in that space.
Interesting.
So clearly I haven't really mastered the clearing out of energy when I'm doing Reiki work.
Hmm.
But also, I think it's because it's not what I'm supposed to be solely doing, which
Hmm.
is why I have like a reaction to that. I love being able to the best way I can describe it is if people pull cards and then you go to what the book says,
Hmm.
I'm able to do those messages for you in real time without needing the book or the cards. It's
Mm.
just like opening up space and they're like, "Ah, we're so glad she's here." Or
Yeah.
like she's remembering her light or like
Yes.
I love doing messages. And also at the same time, every session is completely different. So sometimes I think I can go into a session thinking it's going to be one way. And as soon as I drop into it, for me, it's more like a trance state. It's like a dream,
Uh,
that I kind of get into, but I'm awake, but it's not me. Um, and I can come into it like, okay, I think we're going to do this. And then I drop in, they're like, no, 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 we're going to do it this way. So sometimes I think I'm going to do messages for somebody and they're like, actually, she just needs silence for a minute. So
Mm.
just now we'll do energy work. So then they'll like sweep the body or they'll hold certain parts of the body that might feel like, tense or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Sometimes it'll be that. And distance is a little better because like I can energetically really get into the body a little bit more. Um, and then when I'm in physical, because I think people expected it to be a massage. So I'm always like, it's not going to be a massage.
Yeah.
And yeah, but yeah. So anyway, so that's where the Reiki will come in for me is if we're doing energy work, because that is what the session's needing. There's like, she's so busy. She just needs to calm down first. Let her calm down. Let us work through some of this stuff. We'll just kind of sweep and move the energy through a little bit. And then, we'll get into any, messages if they want, or to answer any questions too. And then sometimes, okay, that's it. The end.
No, you're good. So for those people who want to try to do Reiki, like on other people, what would be your recommendation on where to start for that?
um, so Reiki has its own symbols. So in a level 1 Reiki, you just really go through what the energy is, and then you practice on yourself and animals and plants,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And then you get the attunement, but you don't get the symbols yet. And the reason is, it's kind of like you have to do it like this because you are opening yourself up to different energies. So there is something called like ascension symptoms or energetic symptoms. So when I was saying that my first attunement, all of this rage came up. I was not prepared for it. It was wildly uncomfortable. I didn't know. I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. I did another breath work. The first time I did breath work too, I felt afterwards like I had the flu. So when I first started doing this energetic work, because I was purging this other stuff, it was, yeah, I felt like I had a flu. I was achy or I was angry.
Mm.
So you want to kind of just start gently so you don't fry, because you're upgrading your energetic levels in your body.
That's so cool.
So if you just kind of plug right on in, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to zap out really quick. So you just kind of like ease in and let things move out. Before, if like in the meantime, like if you wanted to start today, just like place, feeling what it feels like to place your hands over your eyes, or this way or this way. So ultimately the energy, if you're doing the healing for yourself, is allowing you to feel into your own body, feel into like, whew, how am I feeling right now and what do I need? What is this? What are these other feelings? I'm triggered. Why? So this is where your own energy can, placing of the hands, in different parts of your body can help. And then if you want to start doing Reiki, I thought it was a beautiful place for me to get started, and it really opened me up. Then just find a Reiki master, and, they offer courses and stuff. I do too. Sometimes I do one-on-ones, but again, when you're finding healing teachers, find the one that resonates with you, because everybody teaches a little bit differently. Everybody has their own way of doing it. I had two teachers, and each one of them were so different. But they kind of filled in the gaps of what
Mm-hmm.
I was. So I went through two Reiki master programs with two separate teachers because they taught so differently. So just find what resonates with you. And I think ultimately dropping in first, like number one, when you're wanting and having this curiosity for energy, it's really like setting the intention. Um, like to do distance, like if I'm going into a meeting. Okay, so when I was in the dance studio world and I would have meetings with dance moms, once I started doing Reiki work and energy work, before I had a meeting, I would send Reiki energy there to the space. I would Reiki myself beforehand, so I could be very, very grounded and open. And these meetings I was totally dreading, thinking they were going to go so like be so frustrating, tended to be really, really great. So it's learning how to allow yourself to work with the energy so you up level your life.
So
And
talking so talking about like, going into these situations like, the dance moms or people who have no idea what this kind of work is. This question somebody asked was, how do you approach a person that might feel skeptical about the whole spirituality concept? And I with this question, I kept looking at it being like, I feel like, people seek you out, and people who seek healers out aren't necessarily skeptical. They're open to the idea. But maybe in the situation where you have to be with these dance moms who probably have no idea what this is, yeah, could you talk a little bit about that at all?
so the dance moms isn't, I wouldn't tell them I was doing Reiki. It was just things that
Oh.
I was doing to make sure energetic space that I was stepping into was going to be like the highest, most best possible thing. I do
Cool.
it when I get on airplanes. Like I'll quickly just kind of like bring energy in so the
Ah,
flight is really good. Um,
I
a-
love that.
yeah, so I think it's for me again. It's like you seek this information, and why do you do it? Because I want
Yeah.
to up my life. I want to
Yeah.
feel more peace. I want to feel more in control. I want to actually be the co-creator of my life.
Yeah.
What does that look like? That's going to drop you into learning how to manifest. What does that mean? How do you create your days? How do you balance out your mental, because our mind can be crazy sometimes and throw you down rabbit holes that it feels tough to get out of. How can I energetically set myself up for more life? So, and less fear, because I
Mm-hmm.
get fearful all the time. So, yeah, so it's the energy work. When you first start it, I wouldn't say jump into it so you can heal other people. I would say jump into it so you can start practicing
Mm-hmm.
how to use it in your own life. And
Yeah.
then you'll be like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah, there was another question I kind of like skipped over because I feel like we've gotten that part of it, which is like, how has Reiki helped you personally? Like, we definitely see that. Like, we see what it's done for you
Yeah.
personally and how it's
Yeah.
helped guide your life.
Guide my life, and also, like, but when you are asking for shifts, like when I think I was in my Reiki master, and there was an introduction to this one symbol, and she was saying, do not use this symbol unless you really mean it, because it's a powerful shifter. And
Mm.
I was in a super chaotic part in my life, and I was like, F it. Like, F it. I want like the shift. Like, I need to shift out of this. And so I did the whole use the symbol, set my intention, and I think maybe a month later is when I left my business.
Wow.
It was my business, like blood, sweat,
Yeah.
tears, starting from the ground up, and I just straight up peaced out one day. I went into work and I literally heard spirit say enough, and
Mm.
it was I got plucked, and they plucked me in my car, and I drove home, and behind me in my mind, like the whole place was burning. And I came home and my husband was like, did you get off work early? And I was like, no, I quit. And he was like, what? I was like, I quit. I quit. Like, and I quit in a way I cannot go back. Like, ha ha, just kidding. Like, I literally quit my business. That is freaking wild. So, but I was also so desperate for a shift. Like
Yeah.
everything that it was that I was doing in my life at that time is not anything that I wanted to do. It didn't have any purpose. It didn't have any meaning. It wasn't beneficial. Like, I hated it. So literally spirit was like, enough. And I hung on for a couple years, like just really like pushing against it. Like, I'm just going to make this work. I'm going to stay in my power. I'm just going to make this work. And then it was just like, no more.
Wow.
We heard you. Valiant effort. Fantastic. Let's move into this other area. So yeah, softly move into all the spaces softly.
Yeah. um, I like these next couple questions. They're kind of a bit random, but who is your favorite spiritual teacher or philosopher, whether present or past? And who have you learned the most from?
I don't have just one, because each teacher brought me a different aspect and a nugget of information that I needed. So I have many like people who channel messages from, and then they write books. Those have opened me up to being able to be a channel and to trust that work. Right now, I'm really into feminine empowerment. So I'm reading a ton of books around, this rise of the feminine energy and what does that look like for females, and, how can we find our roar? And I like to take from different perspectives, so because some of them can be religious, some are more spiritual. I dive into all of it just
Love
because I'm
that.
super curious.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a good question, and I'm gonna sit with that a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more.
Yeah.
I feel like in certain ways I am seeking a one teacher, because I feel like where I'm at now is where I really want to dive into this full force and really embody, it fully. I think it's going to require a little bit more discipline on my behalf, which I'm not disciplined at all. And so I think there's going to be major shifts that I have to take. And now I'm actually seeking one teacher that can kind of support and guide me.
Nice.
Yeah.
This next one, you talked about cards earlier, so maybe you've delved a little bit in tarot, or maybe not. But there was a question of what is your favorite tarot card, or if you have
Mm.
one.
Yeah, I get my tarot cards read.
Yeah.
I don't actually know tarot,
Yeah.
so I can't answer that.
Mm-hmm.
I love more angel cards,
Ooh,
and
yeah. Talk a little bit about angel cards.
yeah. So I wish I had him with me. I think his name is David Gray, maybe. Anyway, I really love his. My work tends to be more on the shamanic side. So sometimes if I'm in a healing, sometimes things can get weird and like these chants will come through and it just feels very like earthy and shamanic. But his cards have a ton. He does angel cards, and then he does like more shaman cards and more wisdom cards. They were a very beautiful grounding, if I'm needing grounding, or just like, okay, what is it that I need to do today, or where should I be placing my energy and intention today? I love being able to pick a card just to help me ground into this question I like to ask myself every day, which is, what do I need? Where am I needing to really put my energy today? So angel cards and, these other, cards like that. I don't know if they're necessarily called tarot cards, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, I
That's
love.
cool. I love
And it's
that.
a beautiful practice of intuition too, because you get the deck and you're like, okay, you feel out which cards are kind of calling you that day, and then you pick from there. So it's a beautiful practice of learning how to trust your guidance that is
Mm,
there for you, and intuition.
I
I think
love
that's why
that.
I like them. Yeah.
So before we got on, and this may have changed and shifted for you, and maybe you've already been doing this, but I just wanted to also give you that space for that if you wanted to. You had talked about how you wanted to just talk, as Julie, but also how you wanted to talk freely, through the spirit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you wanted to do that right now or if you have been doing that, but I just wanted to give you that space.
No, I've just been babbling as myself. So I will do that. And I think, today I was kind of sitting like, well, what is it that, wants to come through? And I think where I'm at now is to really be able to, I don't want to say educate as much as it just bring awareness for people. Because when you're going through like the throes of like, well, here, I'll say this. When I was in California, I was doing work with the dancers, and then I was always also doing one-on-one, because their work was like a 3-week immersive, artistic, but it was also causing them to, or like calling for them to be super vulnerable and like go into these deeper parts within themselves as artists. So some things started to come up for them. So then I was also there to do one-on-one readings for them to kind of help support what they were kind of, purging energetically, or this mess. And one of the sessions, I was like, wow, this is really interesting, because it brought to the forefront of like, we just came out of a pandemic and nobody is talking about how we do that. And so for these, it was a couple of dancers. It was like once the pandemic hit, like their whole body was like, And that's how they've been living for like 2 years. And so now that it's not there, it's and their body's beginning to soften, it feels really wrecking almost on their body and confusing. And so I want to be able to say is that it's like, whew, that we can dance in both worlds, like we can dance in these messy, hard parts, and then we can also dance in these beautiful, like joyful parts. And if we have the awareness and the courage to do that, I think our life really unfolds in a beautiful way. But sometimes we feel like we're losing our mind or there's something wrong with us when we have deeper feelings of depression or
Mm-hmm.
anxiety. Or saying, like yesterday, I came home from work, I was like, I am struggling a little bit. So I love my family, but I'm struggling and I'm going to work. I have some things I need to work through, and I'm going to bounce into bed early, not to go to bed, but to just because I can know I'm noticing that I'm struggling with some things right now. So I'm going to allow myself to struggle. And tomorrow's going to be a better day
Mm-hmm.
after I kind of get to it. So I think, if people are having anxiety or depression or having a hard time like integrating back into this world, just to know that it's normal and it's okay. And some tools, I think, on how to do that. I don't know if anybody wants tools.
You can say whatever you want to say.
uh, Movement is really beautiful because you don't want these energies to get stuck inside. Breath work is really a beautiful thing too. Um, if you're a music person, it's called DMT breathing. His name is. Am I allowed to promote other people on YouTube
Oh
here? I don't
yeah,
know.
go for it. Yeah.
His name is Zen Life Dan. But I use his things all the time because it's guided breath work and it's not like woo woo, like it's not like sit down.
Yeah.
And, that's not my jam all the time. And he has music and different beats, so it feels like more alive, but it's also like you just follow his breath. And you can do like 9 minutes, you can do 30 minutes, you can do 15 minutes. He has all different kinds. So I really like his. And that is just allowing yourself to be able to feel breath in your body again. I think after literally 2 years of feeling like we can't breathe and kind of not knowing the
Mm-hmm.
world to be safe. Um, yeah, those are my two things. Anyway, tangents over here. I'm gonna go ahead and see if there's a channel. So what I'm picking up collectively for this time and space now is this question of uh, asking yourself, why are you here? And not just here on the planet, but like here in this moment. Like something has brought you to tune in and to listen. So, what is it now in this moment that you are seeking? Like, where is your curiosity beginning to like turn towards? Like, everybody's kind of like looking up and they're showing, like, after kind of being held in this very contraction type of state for a really long time, and things are beginning to kind of open. It's like we're looking around for the first time in a long time. And what is it that we see? And a bigger thing is what is it that you want to begin seeing again? What has the past couple years shown you? Were you able to see how people were peaceful? Were you able to see how people were helpful? It's very clouded right now on the earth because it's like these layers, it's like these droppings of curtains of layers of war, and it feels like everything's burning. And everywhere you look, things are just fucking burning, and it's chaotic and it's horrible. Like there's that sense happening. But where we want everybody to be able to drop into your heart space is, but where have you been able to see the beauty? What has sprung from this opportunity? Can you feel that more? They're showing community gardens. Can you see more people wanting to come together in community to create more harmony, to be able to get back to getting their feet on the earth and their hearts open? Have you been able to see that? And if not, can you begin as a practice being able to see the small beauties and the small gifts of what the past couple years, what is actually it opened to? So it's like they're showing like a black wall, and it's all these little cracks are happening, and then in the cracks are like this beautiful gold and white light that are beginning to seep through. So when things are feeling like it's restricting on the heart, whew, put your hand there and breathe. And then they're showing like going down into like your seat, so feeling your seat constantly, so this groundedness. And can you just intentionally begin to see the small beauties and the small specks of light every day, every day? It's like if you are like out on your patio and it's just peaceful for a moment, taking that into your existence, thinking like, okay, wow, whew, this feels good. Or having a beautiful conversation with somebody where you actually feel seen and
Mm.
heard and held, or it feels easy, appreciating that. um, mhm. And then in this then is showing you these cracks of light that are opening within yourself. So as outside, so as above, so below. Everything that is happening outside of you, we also want you to feel that is happening inside of you. Can you feel an awakening? It's like a reawakening is happening back to your light and back to your joy. However, back to your light and back to your joy is now you are, it's like um, before, we don't want you to think of things as before, because as before it was a programmed response. Like your parents liked camping, so I must like camping. So I've gone through my entire life thinking I like camping, and I actually hate camping. So it's these types of, this is a metaphor actually, but it's these types of realizations of being able to say, I really love doing that. But now that the light is beginning to awaken within me, I really think I would love to travel, or I really think I want to write like a comic book, or I really want to. They're showing me like a heart, and it's wood. So if somebody is here that loves to like make wood, and doing like artwork. I really think I really love to do that. So this is a beautiful opening up for you and your light, as well as, what are these things that you're like, wow, I really want to do that. I want to create a comic, or I want to travel a little, like somewhere over here. I want to, yeah, those three things are coming in. I actually just want to feel easier in my body and be more trusting, and maybe, experience what that feels like for a little bit, to feel more simple in my days. I just want to simplify. So like for the next 3 months, my intention is to simplify. So tapping into these things and allowing this course, this light, to really venture in you as well too. And so they kind of answered the question of what are you seeking, as they kind of pointed at the beginning. Now they're turning the head back inward and asking the question again, what are you seeking? What are you seeking? What's going to really, like, what's this calling inside? Maybe it's like there, it's like a small little whisper, but can you, like, if you turn your attention and your focus to it, and can you give it a voice, and then allow that voice to really bring a lot of excitement? That's a snippet.
I love that. No, that was great. Yeah, everybody is, yeah. Uh, Something you said, one of my moderators said, "Oh God, that made me cry. I need a minute." And a lot of people are, yeah, they're feeling very enlightened, I think, in the chat. And so that was a great little snippet. I love that because, yeah, I think it's awesome to see you work, and to see your gift, yeah, be shown. And so that was really beautiful. So thank you for doing that here, for the
Yeah.
community. Yeah,
Thanks for allowing me to do that.
yeah.
Makes
Um,
me cry.
Yeah, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. So we're coming up here on the hour. And I think this is, I mean, I feel I didn't even, this wasn't even a session, and I just feel so just great about this. You know, I feel like I'm going to move off from this and just have a wonderful day. And that's, I think, more in part of just your energy that you hold. And I hope that the people in the community also feel that they're going to move off from this and have a good rest of their day as well. I know it's already been an hour, right? I wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of have any final words, any last things you wanted to say, anything you'd like to promote. People can find you. We have a link, guys, in the chat. If you do !1, you can find Julie's website and Instagram. But if there's anything else you would like to say from you or spirit.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you. And so for all of us who are taking these bigger shifts, self included, just know that it's really supported. And if you feel like you need support in it as well, I'm here. I'm definitely here to help. Or as long as you're just putting that intention, whoever best aligns with you will show up. So just trusting that, it's this concept of, the universe is always working for me. Sometimes I don't always trust that, but can we each trust that everything is like every day it's so supported. And really trying to deepen that awareness. And then for you, Katie, there's just a lot of light around you right now. It's this beautiful golden light. And so they're going to ask you the same question, but just for you personally, which is they're saying, can you see the beautiful light that you are sharing to the world, and your ability to use your voice? And your voice is very strong, and it's of love, and it's very inspiring. And so that now they're growing. So I just want to take a humble and gracious nod to you for also being on, the work that I do, you do the same work. And I will say that for everybody else here. We all do the same work. It just shows up in a different style. Yeah. So anyway, I'm nodding to you for holding space for love and for people to drop in almost like in a community when sometimes it can feel very lost. So thank you.
Thank you. Guys, that was amazing. I'm going to go to a BRB screen. I'm gonna say goodbye to Julie off screen, and I will be back to kind of unpack and talk a little bit before we end the stream. But again, thank you to everybody who watched this. If you didn't, please check the VOD. This will be a highlight. It'll be a VOD right after this as well too, and I will be putting it up on YouTube as well. Thank you again, everybody who tuned in for this, and we will be right back. Again, Julie, thank you so much.